When I talk about Naval, one thing he says is true freedom is not being in a position where you need to, you're under financial stress, you're under financial pressure. So if you can live below your means, that's when you have real freedom. It's not like I want to have hundreds of millions and just have so much excess money, right? So when you're talking about finances and down to the logic, the answer would be no. You don't want to put yourself under financial stress to buy a car or something material to then force yourself to move forward because you're just putting yourself under financial stress. It doesn't seem like logically it's the smart thing to do or the right thing to do. Now, that may be true. I'll give you both sides. You make your own decision. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. It really depends, right? Depends on the person and depends on the scenario. One thing Tony Robbins says that's a bit of a game changer and I really enjoyed is he says, people will fight harder and do more to maintain and keep the standards they have than to reach up to new standards. Let's say you're in a position where you can't necessarily afford a Mercedes. You can, but you're going to be like redlining it. You're going to be on the edge of your finances. Like every month you're stressing, right? So to the point of Tony Robbins, this is an example to illustrate that. You make the move, you overextend yourself, you buy the Mercedes or you lease it or whatever, right? You put yourself in that vehicle. Now, to Tony Robbins' point, you're going to fight tooth and nail. You're going to fight a lot harder to maintain your standard. You're not going to want to go back down again to a freaking Honda Civic, right? You're going to want to keep the Mercedes. So you're going to go a lot harder to maintain that standard and uphold the same standard and work harder and make more money, make it happen, regardless of what you got to do. You'll make it happen to keep that standard. As opposed to if you're driving a Honda Civic and you're like, my goal is to one day have a Mercedes. And it's just a goal, right? Every day you're just driving a Honda Civic, right? You're not going to fight as hard and push yourself as much to get to that goal because the pressure isn't there, right? If you're, hanging out and watching Netflix one day or your friends invite you to a party, you're driving that Civic, you're gonna be like, yeah, one day I do want that Mercedes. That is my goal. And I'm working towards it slowly but surely. I'm going to go to that party today. If you have the Mercedes and the bill's due on the 10th, right? And you got to pay that. Your friend has invited you to a party. You're going to be like, listen, man, I'd love to come to this party. I got standards here. I got bills to pay. There's no way. I got to work on maintaining my current lifestyle, my standards. So that's Tony Robbins' point. So he actually kind of advocates that, or at least that's how I took it. He was talking about this in one of his live events. The principle is true, however you want to take it. People will fight harder to keep their current standards than they will to reach up to new standards. So sometimes you may want to stretch yourself and put yourself in a new standard and fight to maintain that and then to use that as a base and grow from that than to just always tell yourself like one day I'm going to reach these goals. So there's both sides. The logical financial side would tell you live below your means, be smart, put all your money away. It's not just earning income. It's the saving that's going to allow you to invest and build your wealth. The other side of like knowing yourself, knowing your personality, knowing what drives you, knowing the situation. Again, life is in the gray areas. There's no black or white. Knowing all of that would tell you for some, that's a good option. For some, it's not. I'll tell you, for me, that's a good option. I always operate great under pressure. I love pressure. Like I said, I welcome pressure. I have a freaking big picture on my wall that says pressure is a privilege. You can tell I like pressure, right? It might be some weird disease I have, but I like pressure. So for me, that drives me. I like that. I don't mind it. I have a very high tolerance for risk, right? Like I don't mind taking risk. I'm extremely optimistic by nature. It's weird. I've always been wired that way. It's very hard for me to be pessimistic about life or about things. I'm very optimistic by nature. I'm always like, what's the big deal? Who cares? No matter what happens, right? It's back to that mindset I told you guys before. If you got a problem that man can solve, you don't have a problem. You just have work to do, right? I have that mindset. So for me, I can take on risk, but it depends on who you are.